So here's my first thing I want to ask you. So far this year, do you feel like, I'm going to give you an option. I want you to write that down. The question is so far this year, do you feel like you're making a living or you're making a life? So far this year, do you feel like you're making a living or you're making a life? Going deep right out of the gate. On your notes, please put the date, which is 7/9/24. Put Cheviron Live right there and put goals, and then start writing all this stuff down. So that way, when you come back to it, you know exactly where you were in that moment when you look at your notes. So far this year, do you feel like you're making a living or making a life? Second question, so far this year, do you feel like you're spending your time or investing it? Pretty deep questions right out of the gate. There's no wrong answer here necessarily. There's seasons of life, and you go in certain seasons based off of maybe an opportunity, maybe a liability, maybe something that happened. But today is the day that we reset, because I got 6 more months with you until January 1st. And I want you guys to have a successful year. I don't care if it's been shit the first 6 months. Today's the day to reset. Okay. Next part of this is I'm going to talk about life's purpose. Okay. Life's purpose. So here's my question is, what are your natural talents? Write those down, please. What are your natural talents? I'm going to give you guys time to write. I won't give you an hour for each question, but I'll give you a minute or so. What are your natural talents? I know for me, and I'm going to talk as you guys write, I know for me, it's understanding how time and money balance each other and optimization of any opportunity. I can also see liabilities pretty easily. Like you're running your car into a wall. You don't see the wall yet. It's right there. I see it. Like, do you not see it? Which really pisses my wife off when she drives, by the way. It's another problem. So what are your talents? Write those down. They should come naturally to you. If not, then go back to your disc and motives profile. If you don't have one, send us a message, put it in the chat. I don't have one. We'll get you one here on us. It says in there what you're naturally gifted at. And then my second question to this is, how can you use those talents to serve others? So look back at your talents. How can I use those talents to serve others? Good example, if I wrote down that I'm really good with money, then I could talk to you guys about money. It's my talent. What are your talents? And how can you use those to serve others? Just getting you back in alignment. That's all we're doing today. It's getting you back in alignment. You might find like you're out of alignment right now. That's okay. It happens. Every time I go to the chiropractor, he doesn't come in and say, well, you don't need me. Why don't you go? He's like, no, you got a couple things wrong. Let me fix you. Right? There's always something that's out of alignment. Next question for you. If money and time were not a factor, what would you do? If money and time were not a factor, what would you do? And some of you guys have shared this. Miss Riami shared her vision. Yeah. So if money, I'm giving you a little hint, taking you back to where you took us. If money and time were not a factor, what would you do? Maybe you would just fly around in an airplane all day because you really enjoy it. And I would ask you, well, what talents do you have and how could you use those to serve others? Then how does that connect to, if money and time were not a factor, what would you do? How do all these things connect? Just getting you to think here a little bit. Give you another 30 seconds on this. Your work might not be done today. You might need to come back to this. And then my last question in this one is, what excites you? What do you get excited about? What pumps you up? What do you really enjoy? When I was writing this content here, some of my questions seem to overlap. And I had to make a judgment move of, is it okay to overlap questions? Like, what excites you? And wouldn't that be the same as what would you do if time and money weren't an issue? But then I answered that question in a lot of different shoes and found that they could be different. You might have the same answer there, but the answer might be different. And so when you look at all those things, the question becomes is, how do all those things come together? How do you start putting all those things together? What your talents are, what are you naturally gifted at? How can you use those talents to serve others? You catch me how I said serve others and not yourself there. Like when we use those to serve others. And if I took all the money and time out, what would you actually do? And then what gets you excited? Like, what are those? You want to know something weird? I get excited by looking at my bank accounts in the morning. I love doing it, moving money around and like a little magician in the mornings. I like it. It works. Like, that's okay to say. Like, I enjoy that. If I'm 70 years old, I probably wouldn't mind playing with my money in the morning. I'm okay with that. You might think that's weird, but that's what my answer said to do. Don't judge me. You got some weird stuff too, I'm sure. Okay, section 3 here. Now that I've worked on your life's purpose, now what I want to do is I want to get your vision out there a little further. Okay, what do I mean by that? I want you to figure out, what do I want to achieve over the next 3 to 5 years? In all reality, what do I want to achieve in 3 to 5 years? Not 3 to 5 months, not 30 to 50 years, but in the next 3 to 5 years, what would I like to achieve? And I'm going to give you guys about 3 to 4 minutes to write right now. And then I'd like, when we're done, for a couple of us to share.